Hello, everyone, again. Hello. Can everyone sit down and settle down? Excellent. Wow, what energy in the room this evening. I've heard some inspiring conversations between teens and designers. Now that you've had time to meet and learn more about some designers in the room, I want to share a little bit about one of the teens in the room today. Hopefully if I can spot her, but, oh, I see her now. One of the teens in the room who was recently identified as the winner of Cooper Hewitt's first National Teen Design Challenge. In January of this year, Cooper Hewitt and Target partnered to launch our first National Design Challenge for teens. Think Outside Student Design Challenge. The challenge asks teens across America to design an outdoor chair inspired by Cooper Hewitt's world-renowned collection that is functional, comfortable, and unexpected. The winning chair will be produced by Target as a limited edition. The winning team would receive 2 chairs for his or her personal use, and 5 chairs will be installed in Cooper Hewitt's garden. As part of the design experience, Cooper Hewitt hosted a finalist weekend where designers from Target mentored 5 teens. One of them is also here today too, Lauren, and guided them in refining their designs and presentations to a prestigious set of judges. Although all 5 designs were incredibly strong, one chair stood out. Claire Christianson, 16-year-old from Minnesota, is here with us today, and she is the winner. Please raise your hand, Claire, in the back of the room. Wave over there. She's being shy. Wave, Claire, come on. No, she's in the lovely black and white dress. As the winning designer, Claire was able to visit Target's headquarters in Minneapolis to review and refine the chair production models and toured the Target headquarters to experience the day in the life of a graphic designer, a fashion designer, an industrial designer, and more. What an incredible experience for a young designer. You might have already experienced Claire's chair in the room. It's to my right. If not, I encourage you to check it out before you leave. Have a seat. It's super comfortable. Again, it'll be installed in the museum's garden after the tent goes down. I have super exciting news. We just heard from Target that they are excited to collaborate with us on our second Teen Design Challenge for 2017. So check back in the new year. We will post details on our websites, on social media, so be sure to follow us at Cooper Hewitt so you can also have this incredible experience that Claire had. So thank you, Target, again, for your generous support. I want to welcome back Halim on stage to introduce the next portion of the program.
I'm back. Hi, everyone. If I didn't have a chance to introduce myself, my name is Halima. I'm the Teen Programs Manager here at the Cooper Hewitt. I hope that you had an opportunity to enjoy conversations with the amazing designers in the room today. I have been tasked with introducing the next portion of our program. We'll actually have a brief discussion up here on stage with some of our National Design Award winners. They're going to be talking about their history with design and your potential future in design. So I would like to introduce Verda Alexander, co-founder at Studio O+A, which is the 2016 National Design Award winner for interior design. Her San Francisco-based firm works on projects with some of the most dynamic companies in American business, including Facebook, Uber, Nike, and Yelp. We'll also be welcoming Matt Cottam, who is the founder and Chief Design Officer at Tellart, the winner of the 2016 National Design Award for Interaction Design. Tellart has created interactive tools and experiences for companies such as Google, Target, and the Museum of the Future for the Prime Minister's Office of the United Arab Emirates, which is a really cool project. And last but not least, we're also welcoming Jeff McFetridge, who is a graphic designer and artist based in Los Angeles, California. He was awarded the 2016 National Design Award for Communication Design. Through his design studio, Champion Graphics, McFetridge has created works that have a uniquely human touch for major brands like MTV, Vans, Warby Parker, and Colette. Moderating the discussion this afternoon will be one of our high school students, Amir Akram. Amir is a Cooper Hewitt Design Scholar and a high school junior, as well as a future fashion entrepreneur. So please join me in welcoming the panel.
Thanks, Halima. Okay, this is nice to be on stage with you guys. Finally, been waiting for this all day. And I guess let's just get the ball rolling, right? So a question I really wanted to ask you guys is, what creative endeavors did you pursue as a teenager? And do you feel like any of them affected you up until this point?
I mean, I could start. I mean, I really started doing what I do now, like almost to an exaggerated extent when I was a teenager, because I understood that there was all these things I wanted to make as a teenager based on skateboarding and snowboarding. And so to make those things, I realized I had to kind of become a designer. But basically I got asked by friends to draw on their skateboards. It was as simply as that. And then it went from there to being, make actual skateboards that get printed, and then have clients in California that would make a lot of them. And it just kind of slowly, pretty quickly became kind of real. But that started when I was in high school.
Yeah, building skateboard ramps, I think, was one of the first things I built as well. I think realizing that design is a lot about making specifications for something, not just having the manual skills to do it, but to imagine how to plan how much material you're going to need and how to coordinate your friends so that people don't get hurt and the ramp is actually something that you can use. It's more complex than it seems, and we made a lot of really terrible ones before we made a good one. So I think if there's one great principle of design, it's that it's a process of experimentation and discovery. It's not something where you just think and think and think and then draw the plan of what you're going to make and make it. I'm sure this is probably true of you guys too. Just the act of sketching as a constant feedback loop for yourself to explore the world and explore the materials and tools that you're using is critical, especially in the best cases where you don't know where you're going.
Yeah.
Or you're given a blank piece of paper by a client and a lot of trust, and they send you off with some time.
So as a teenager, my dad was a scientist, and I did not know anything about the creative world. I wanted to be an astronaut for the longest time until I didn't. And this is really embarrassing. My first endeavor in art was one of those dot drawings, and it was a photo, I still have it, a picture of a puppy in dots. And you look, you put it far enough away and it looks like a puppy, and it just blew my mind. And ever since then, I've wanted to be in the arts and in a creative field.
Okay.
We're being urged to speak louder. I think maybe you missed
Am I not?
some waving, all of us.
Oh, yeah, can you guys hear us? Can everybody hear us?
Everyone loud and clear?
Okay.
Yeah?
All right.
Perfect.
Yeah, well,
All right, bouncing off what you guys said about building skateboards with your friends and making entire ramps, how deeply do you feel that having that friend group that was into the creative industries and arts affected you?
I don't know that. Is my mic on? I don't know that my friends were necessarily into the arts and design. I think they were enlisted by me because they wanted to skateboard. And I can put them to work, and they were handy. But no, I think towards later in high school, some friends emerged as a group that took arts and design seriously as something we might want to pursue as a job, not just a way of getting to the ends of the other things we wanted to do as kids, and started to think, what does it mean to go to college for this? And so by mid-high school or early high school, I was already spending a lot of time asking questions with my teachers and practicing drawing. And I think if there's one essential skill, you don't have to be able to draw the perfect likeness of a face, but practicing visually communicating, practicing drawing is good all the time. And so from that, it gets into building a portfolio of photography and some sculpture and some drawings. And then I applied to RISD who's here in the back room, and ended up spending 5 years there as a student and then another 10 years as faculty. So it was really important during those years to start drawing with friends.
Yeah, and I mean, I was telling some students earlier that like for me, I was involved in cultures that needed a lot of graphics. Like it was like, at the time it was punk music and skateboarding and these kind of classic 80s cultural moment. And it needed all kinds of stuff. It needed zines, it needed t-shirts, it needed graphics on skateboards. So to satiate that demand, you just ended up making stuff. And it almost complicates it now to call that design. When in reality, like I was just making stuff for my friends. So if you can't, like I was telling a student, like if you can't make a t-shirt that your friend would wear, like no one will wear it. So for me, it was like starting like in that macro zone where it was like this inner circle and you're working to just satiate a need because there's stuff that needed to get made, like seemingly, like bands needed flyers, bands had logos. Like, I mean, I don't even know, like band doesn't need a logo, but you decide like our band needs a logo. So then you volunteer, like I'm the one to make it. And then is that a design practice? I don't know, but you're entertaining your friends. And then the circle gets wider and wider. So it's like friends of friends, friends of friends of friends, other cities, other parts of the world, it goes and goes. And I think that's really essential. And you can call that design, you can call it whatever you want. For me, like calling things design, like at a point it became totally empowering because it was basically saying like, I can do anything. Like I can make an animation, I can make art, I can do a logo for you. So it was this kind of like powerful tool as a description of myself.
What about you, Vanna?
Yeah, so in high school, I did not have any friends that were in the arts at all. The closest thing was music. Everybody was into, new wave and punk and all the different kinds of music, and that was the connection that I had with my friends. But really, for me, I was forging new ground with myself, like learning what the arts was, and just being out there by myself. So nobody understood what I was doing, and I barely understood what I was doing, but I just tried to push forward.
I see. All right, looping back to what some of you guys mentioned about school, do you think it's really a wise decision to get a degree solely in design? Like, do any of you have degrees or licenses that allow you to do other things or other practices?
So from high school, I continued not having a lot of friends in the arts because I went to San Jose State University in San Jose. So it was a general education college. I purposely chose to do that because I wanted to get a broader education. I studied fine arts, and I ended up landing in textile arts. I was the first textile major, but I was doing installation art. So I was just thinking about art and design as this one big blob, which I think was really great. I was even in political science. I mean, I was doing everything, urban planning, so it was just, what I loved about not going to art school was that I got a much broader education. I think you can go both paths. I ended up, after undergrad, going to the GSD at Harvard and studying landscape architecture, and then going to Berkeley and finishing in landscape architecture, and then I became an interior designer. So, there's no perfect path. It really is up to you. And I think if you are super passionate and you know exactly what you want to do, I think an art school is great. Sometimes I wish I'd gone to RISD or some phenomenal art school, but I didn't. And I took my path, and it got me where I got to go, kind of like this. But for some people, that's how it works.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great. And a lot of the designers that we work with, and some of the best designers I know, started off with general education, and you found that basis in philosophy or in social sciences or even cognitive sciences, and very useful. Even doctors who then decided they wanted to be engineers afterwards. I did the sort of the opposite path, where I started knowing that I wanted to do fine arts, pretty quickly realized that for me actually meant industrial design, because I was really interested in providing something that was kind of reliably useful to people, not just for self-expression, but also to provide people with new ways of engaging with the world and manufacturing. And then later started working on a project that was a medical project for a simulator, and then found myself studying medicine for 4.5 years, and then being on the federal disaster medical team, and even taking time away from design to just be a paramedic. And it can go both ways. I think design is a pretty good base for finding the logic and observing things in the world and finding needs, and then going out and specializing later gives you the opportunity to apply it in a more focused way.
Yeah, I mean, I had broad commercial art. It was called Commercial Art Program. And then I went to Cal Arts to go to grad school. But for me, I feel really lucky. I think there's the one really important factor is like I went to a local art college. I grew up in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And so my undergraduate education was basically free. And I think that is also really critical. At that time, I wouldn't have been ready for a Cal Arts, undergraduate education or a RISD education. I would have gotten a fantastic education. I don't know what would have happened at that time. But the crippling student loans would have meant that I wouldn't have been able to go to grad school. And grad school, there's more scholarship money available. There's more you've kind of grown into an ability, I feel like, to choose more specifically what you're doing. Because like I say, design, if you're interested in design, it's super broad. And so I feel really lucky of the path that I just happened to take. It wasn't orchestrated, that I was able to graduate without these huge student loans so that I could basically start my practice immediately. And I could start doing what I've known what I was wanting to do since high school, and I could just do it instead of like, okay, I'm gonna take a job and wait to do this thing I wanna do, which is basically run my own studio.
I think too, it's worth, even though it's not as plentiful as it should be, there are a lot of financial aid and scholarship programs in the world that we're very lucky to have. I mean, I had to take 3 years off between high school and college and keep making my portfolio, but because the first time I applied, I got accepted, but it was going to put me in debt forever.
Yeah.
And I ended up going to a Bachelor's of Fine Arts at RISD, Bachelor's of Industrial Design at RISD, totally without tuition, and then a master's degree in Umeå, Sweden, again without any tuition. But it took really, really working hard and constantly having my portfolio looked at by friends and teachers, and being very entrepreneurial about my own ability to go to
that's
school.
really interesting.
You have to take it on as your own business.
Yeah, approach education as an entrepreneur, not as like a customer,
Yeah.
Now, looking at YouTube and YouTube Veda, everyone's talking about how they look at these different approaches. Like all of us are trying to decide, should we be focused? Should we think about all these different forms of design, like you said, be broad? What do you guys think is really the smartest in this day and age for teenagers like us?
I think it's every person is different. I think you have to have a personal awareness of when to work to your strengths and when to challenge yourself. There are times when you should not take on a huge challenge. You should just do what you know you're great at and follow that path. But if you just follow this thing like, I only want to design streetwear, you're gonna be like, your world is gonna be closed, and the world is not like that. Like we don't live, I think more than ever, the world is becoming more diverse and foggy. So I think it's I'm basically like reading what you're saying. It's just difficult. But, I think that is like an essential skill set, is like knowing yourself and being able to decode your interests and your passions and to be able to put them in motion, And
I think there's incredible opportunities to self-teach these days. There's all kinds of great online programs, but also just even in the world of software, because I work a lot with computers. If I want to learn a new program, I don't go back to school.
Yeah.
I sign up for $39 for lynda.com for a month, and I just start studying, and I come out the other side knowing how to use Rhino.
In a week.
I build in a month I've built everything in my apartment, and I can go out and show people, I might not have honestly, people who come to us looking for jobs don't lead with, here's my college degrees. They lead with, here are some of the things that I've made. And if those things are great and they feel like a really good culture fit and they're going to drive themselves to become better and contribute, it doesn't matter if they went to high school, frankly. Well, you should all graduate from high school. I didn't graduate from high school, and I got a GED, and then, but you have to just dig it out. But it's possible to build a very proper, very highly creative vocational practice without having it go through a regular academic process.
Yeah, I would say if you absolutely know what you want to do, then go for it. But I'm definitely biased because I took that circuitous path, and I feel like it really influences the way I look at interior design, the way I look at the arts in general and life in general. So, and I would, if somebody asked me, like, just tell them what to do, that's what I would say, is like, learn as much as you can about all the different arts. But again, I think everybody has his own path, and I like to hire people that aren't just interior designers, that they have some other passion or some other creative outlet, like maybe they're a welder or a writer. We have a writer on our staff that writes novels, and we try to help them find time for these other creative outlets, because I think that fuels and feeds a more creative discourse within interior design as well. But as a junior designer, I would say I would hire somebody that has a skill, like something that you might learn on Linda. So there's a balance that you have to do here. You have to definitely get skilled in what you want to do. I mean, that means learn Rhino or learn SketchUp or learn Revit or AutoCAD, but also don't do that with blinders on. Look at the world and see. There's so inspiration from I was talking to Amir, and I was saying that I'm inspired by fashion. So you've got to look at everything.
Now, we've been talking a lot about learning and taking these different routes, but have any of you guys had a backup plan? How do you even feel about the idea of having a backup plan?
And I could answer that. I'm conflicted because my backup plan was landscape architecture, which ended up kind of taking me in a whole nother route and coming back. And one of my biggest regrets is that I didn't have the guts to go for an MFA, like to just do fine arts. Like it scared me too much not to have a degree and not be able to go out and get a job. So, I don't know. So I guess I'm not really answering the question, but I guess what I'm saying is if you're conflicted and you don't know, then that's okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's really a backup plan, but a supporting plan was, even when I was in my last years of college, I started teaching continuing education night classes to people who just wanted to pick up a new skill, like Photoshop or Maya or something like that. And that helped me to pay my rent as I finished college. And then when I finished and we wanted to start a company, at least for the first few years, my partner and I were able to pay ourselves very little, especially when we wanted to hire people. The people we were hiring were making much more than we were, but we were able to feed ourselves. Luckily, we didn't have families and everything else, a lot of responsibility in the world, but we taught classes. So for 2 days a week for 10 years, I taught studios at RISD and used that money to feed myself and took very little income from our company. That slowly gradiated into a normal life where now I teach 4 or 5 weeks a year, and it's more supplemental as pleasure and exploration and just socially fulfilling.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I had a very definitive moment when I was in high school. For my summer job, I took a job doing picture framing, and I had this sensation of like, picture framing was my license to do whatever I wanted for the rest of my life, because I could survive as a picture framer, and they need picture framers all over the world. And so it's expensive. So I just took it on. It's like, that's it. I can do. So as much as it was like a backup plan, and then the next summer though, then I got a job in an art department in a t-shirt shop, like doing separation, printing. So then I was like, that's my new backup plan. But then I went back the next summer, and then they gave me a job in the art department, like actually drawing the t-shirts. And then suddenly like my backup plan was like, oh, that's just the plan. Like I'm just drawing t-shirts now, and then I could continue on. But I think there's that. And then also I think do jobs for $20. Like start, like, oh, like my soccer team needs a logo, $20. I mean, I did a job last month and it was $200. Like my rate is the same as it was when I was in high school, basically. Like I think the first band I did a logo for paid me $200, and I did that last month. And I think it's like really essential, like get in the habit of like, this is the plan. Like I'm doing it already. Like sell, like make a shirt and don't give it away. Like you could charge $1, you know, and just make it like, this is like, there's a type of commitment to that, of participating. And then everybody, then your friends are invested and they're participating as well, and whatever that takes, you know.
I think this is a really important point. I think a friend of mine, Jack, just a tiny little thing to say, just, my friend Jack just says, if you want people to hire you to do something, just start doing it.
Yeah.
Like, don't prepare and worry about how to get there. Just start making that stuff, and people will start thinking of you as the guy who makes t-shirts.
Yeah.
Backup plan is the plan.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for that little end quip. I hope you guys have enjoyed hearing them talk, and you've been taking notes, hopefully, because they're amazing people to learn from.
Thank you.
Amir.
So before you go, I gave Amir an opportunity to ask all of his questions, but we do have mics up here, and I did want to open the floor so that any of you who have questions for the panelists would have an opportunity to ask. So we've already talked about sort of how to prepare, how to get started right now, not focusing necessarily on one thing, and having a backup plan that becomes your plan, or a plan that becomes your backup plan. So I wanted to give an opportunity to you to also ask the questions that you might have burning deep inside. So don't be shy. There's a mic here and a mic here. And we have time for just a handful of questions. So this is your one opportunity to ask a national design winner in front of a group of people a burning question. Please come up to the mic and just say your name and ask your question.
Hi, my name's Elijah Brown, and I have a question. What's the hardest thing that you guys had to overcome in designing?
As a designer?
Yeah.
Any of you? Anyone in particular?
Hardest thing. Oh my God. There's so many hard things.
For me, I mean, it's like the difficulty came because, like I was saying, like I was doing what I was doing. Like I was doing what I was doing already in high school, and so there was a point when I graduated from college that I realized I was already doing what I was doing, and that there was no way I wasn't going to get bored of doing it. So that's when I chose to go to grad school, and I just completely stopped doing everything I was doing to like rethink. And so it wasn't about who I worked for or what my work looked like, but I decided I had to totally change my frame of reference and my thinking. And that was, you know, an internal challenge, but a challenge.
I guess I just fell into interior design, and here I am today. It's kind of amazing. But, and I fell into it by just starting my own company. And I think that was the hardest thing I've ever done, but I didn't know that it was because I didn't know any better. So just work and do it, and don't worry about if it's hard or not. Just do it.
Yeah, I think having our own companies, I think we can all sympathize with. At some point, you get better and better at design, and then you have something to offer people, and then you realize that you have to run a business too, and that you need to learn something about business. And I think my partner and I went on for years feeling like there was something in this magical black box that business people knew that we didn't know, and we were sort of amateurishly going about selling and paying people. But it turns out that we did fine, and it was 20 years ago, and we have 45 employees, and of course we asked a lot of questions, we made some mistakes, but I think realizing, and at some points I thought, well, have I stopped being a designer to be a salesperson? But actually what I was doing was talking persuasively with people about something I was passionate about, which was design. And so you constantly come to, if you take an entrepreneurial route, you have to balance both the business side with the act of making. And now, luckily, we've been in business long enough that I can go back to just fooling around in the office most of the time, and sometimes I have to do proper adult stuff. So.
Hi, my name is Joyce. Nice to meet you guys. I know that with technology advancing and everything, there are like a lot of apps that allow you to just like sketch on your tablet or do creative things on like technology. How do you think technology has like influenced the way you channel your creativity?
Technology's
Channels your creativity, like how you use it.
Shapes or channels. I mean, simply, I just think that any tool or material that we use to make anything leaves some mark on the thing that we make. As much as we'd like to think that we're just focusing on the end user and their needs or the thing that we want to make, you have to kind of be careful and very aware of the tools you use. Digital things are just as material in a way as a hammer or a chisel or something like that. They have a very direct effect, and we just have to stay conscious of them and maintain a level of craftsmanship that we know how to control that so it doesn't get away from us.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like starting, like I was very lucky that I wouldn't be able to do what I did if the computer didn't come out, basically, when in the early 90s. And so that I could just be me and produce the amount of work I did in the way I did just in my living room, like my bedroom, basically. And that technology has now completely changed. But for you, that technology will completely change again by the time you become a professional. So you just are going to change with it, and it's going to become, for me, it was about autonomy. So you will become I don't even know how you could become more autonomous, because now you can then share that work instantly. I was like, oh, I'm lucky I can send this stuff to print. Now it's just like send. So that will be, it'll be exponential for this generation.
For me, it's kind of about technology serving as a library. Like I have so much stuff like visual images and articles and references to some designer or some product or something. And so just keeping all of that organized is where technology has really helped me a lot. And also, I work a lot, very much analog, and I love to bring things into the computer and see what happens, and try to take something farther through some program. And so those are the two ways I use technology.
Thank you.
Well, I heard from you guys that one of you guys was designing on skateboards of your friends. Did that take you somewhere? Did you continue on other materials and stuff like that? And how did it work out?
Well, yeah, it just happened right away, because it was like I drew on my friend's skateboard, and then he became a pro snowboarder. So then he told that company, oh, this guy will draw my snowboard. And I was just a kid, but I drew the snowboard. And then that company said, oh, can you make all our snowboards? So I made all their snowboards. And then I did it again for another season. And I was still just out of high school. So when I met the guy, he was like, whoa, you're just a kid. But through that process, it was basically like, in one project, I learned the process of making everything, because I learned about silk screening. I learned about printing dye inks on surfaces, how to send stuff, FedEx. Like, I didn't know so I learned how to send stuff. So through drawing with a felt pen, I quickly went to drawing things on a huge illustration board. And then the next year I did it all digitally, which was one of the first snowboards ever made digitally. It was it was 1980 something, and it crashed all their computers because no one had done it. But I didn't know, because I thought, how else do you make this stuff? And so, but yeah, so that's what I was saying. Like, if you do something small, but it resonates, it can resonate very quickly. And that, like the free bag is printed with the same technology as like a Gucci jacket or a Kanye West t-shirt. It's all made with silkscreen the same way. So it's like context and, velocity of how you're getting the culture, but everything is made like basically in the same way by the same kind of group of people. So it's just how you participate and how you put yourself in that world.
So I So I hate to interrupt because I love when these conversations start to happen, and I think that if we had more time, we would have more time for more questions from all of you. I'm actually going to cut Tommy off. I'm sorry. I hope you forgive me. And actually thank all of you for coming today, especially all of the designers. I hope we can give our panelists a round of applause for being such good sports.
Thank you.
And I hope you'll give Amir a round of applause for asking such great questions. So I want to thank you all for coming today. If you don't know about the teen programs at the Cooper Hewitt, please check us out on our website. It's cooperhewitt.org/designprep. That's where we have free teen programs where we work with awesome designers like the ones in this room all the time. So they're for you to sign up and participate. I just want to say thank you so much for spending your time here this afternoon. Please don't forget to take everything with you that you brought and enjoy the rest of your evening. So please give one more round of applause to the designers. I'm going to end with a thank you to Target for their amazing funding, and a thank you to you for putting up with what was a little bit of a hot room today. Thank you, and have a great afternoon.